Alright, what's up y'all? It's Lake 2 here. As you can see by the title of today's video, here to showcase how Morpeko is winning in Master Ball tier in Pokemon Champions. So, I'm using the 167th most popular Pokemon in the game. This dude is being outplayed by Luxray, Glalie, Aromatisse, Espeon, Sharpedo, Pidgeot, Beartick, Wordier. I mean, like, look at this, man. He's so far down here. This is one of the lowest usage mons in the game. There are a couple lower than him, obviously, as you can see, at 213. And ironically, someone was suggesting to me to use Gourgeist for the Paris Trap team. To be fair to Gourgeist, it has multiple different forms, so that's why it's maybe like a little bit easier to see down at the bottom. But anyway, yeah. All the way up here, or all the way down here, I should say, is indeed Morpeko. Now, if we go over to his commonly seen allies, these are literally my teammates. And I'm sure the only people running Morpeko are the ones that have run him because I'm suggesting to in my videos and are using him as, like, you know, the team case. Because as you can see, it's literally everybody that I've paired him with. Incin, Gengar, Kamo-O, Blastoise, Altaria. It's literally just my squad. So, on the contrary, however, we actually are introducing a new squad with the Morpeko. So let me put that together real quick, and I'll go ahead and get into the gameplays. Alright, so here's the current team that you're going to be looking at in a lot of these gameplay videos. There might be a little bit of fluctuation because you have 4 of them, so I'm going to get into that pretty quickly here as well because it's just, you know, a lot of video footage to be shown with Morpeko. But anyway, as you can see, the squad is going to be things like Blastoise with, once again, the Rain Dish leftovers with the Flip Turn, Fake Out, Life Dew, Incin for the other pivoting moves of the Fake Out, Parting Shot. Nothing's changed too much on them, however, I will show the investments. I believe that I've invested quite a bit more into Incineroar's physical defense, and then I'm allowing Blastoise to be our special D-wall a little bit more, right? Sableye and Morpeko are going to be a lot more of the tactical mons that you have to position correctly and play around their very frail, you know, kind of style, if you will, which isn't exactly great for a Paris Trap team. Also, the one difference you might see is that I'm currently running Fake Out even though I'm Scarfed on Morpeko, simply just to cover for the opposing, you know, other extremely fast Fake Out mons like Sneasler, for instance. It's just been super annoying to deal with. So, I'm only running Fake Out just for that purpose, as well as, by the way, I'm running Substitute because if we end up in a situation where, let's say I hit like first turn Parting Shot with Morpeko, because to give you guys a little bit of an idea of his bag, because that is the point of today's video, it is essentially to hit extremely fast Parting Shots with him so that we can get the special attack and attack drop into a certain slot that we really like the matchup into, and then go into Incineroar, for instance, after that as well, and get, for instance, like, let's say a double attack drop on one slot with their special attack dropped, and then the other slot also still with their physical attack dropped. So, all things considered, you know, the first turn Parting Shot is really good, at least neutral value, into a lot of leads that I maybe don't like for Morpeko's sake. But if I do like the lead for his sake, like, let's say, for instance, a Rain team like Pelipper and Basculegion and stuff like that, Morpeko, for being real, could snag 2 KOs on back-to-back turns. He could Aura Wheel into the Pelipper as it's an electric type move, and then Aura Wheel into the Basculegion the next turn as it's a dark type move. And that man has some real potential into these Rain teams, and I've been racking my brain over the types of matchups that we can do into, you know, opposing Basculegions, because seeing that my Gengar wasn't enough to be consistently, like, you know, taking those KOs, and I just have to flip a coin of, oh, well, I hope they're adamant. I hope they're not speed up nature with full speed investment in a Choice Scarf, you know, and then it's like, oh, well, they are. So guess what? Gengar loses, you know, with last respects. That Basculegion is a problem to run into for this team. So Morpeko not only covers for that, he covers for Pelipper as well. He also will, like, you know, kill things like Mega Charizard Y off first turn with his Aura Wheel electric type as well. And then if we don't like the lead with him, we can simply just Parting Shot out with a Scarf, and then it doesn't even hurt that we have a Scarf on him because that's all he did for the turn. And then we're able to get into, once again, damage nullifiers. Let's say if, like, we led Morpeko, I actually showed you guys this in a previous video where I'm leading Morpeko, but also bring Sableye. So for opposing Sneaslers, for instance, as well, if you're able to run a squad where it's Morpeko, Sableye on the same team, what you can do is you can bait out that close combat or Fake Out into Morpeko's slot, manual switch him out into Sableye, and now because you've Mega Gengared, you have Shadow Tag going on, you're not letting that Sneasler off the field, and now you can just Encore, you know, Sneasler into either a Fake Out or close combat while 2 ghost types are on the field. We showcased that in the video of showing Sableye on a Paris Trap team if you want to check that out. But Morpeko happened to be the guy that was baiting out those close combats and those Fake Outs. So anyway, nothing's really changed too much on Kamo-O. We've been fluctuating back and forth between like Shell Bell, Leftovers, and Habanberry. Kind of just feel comfortable with this Habanberry, especially if we're not running anything else to cover for opposing Garchomps. Like, you know, we just kind of need combo to be there for guys like that, and even potentially against our Chaladon, but probably not as great of a matchup. But yeah, still the physical defense bulk into him as well. Let's go ahead and showcase real quick Morpeko's bag, because I still want to like detail this perfectly before we get into the gameplays. Alright, so as you can see, one of the absolute lowest base stat Pokemon in Champions. He only has a 437 base. That is like, if we go over to the team builder right here and we're sorting by base stats, I mean, as you can see, things like Ditto all the way down here. Does this even count, to be fair, though? So, not only are we running 380 base stats Sableye on the squad, but also running, as you can see, like, you know, the 436 Morpeko as well. So, I mean, these are by far two of the absolute lowest base stat Pokemon in the entire game. And some of them are things like huge power Azumarill, huge, you know, pure power Medicham that, like, aren't technically, you know, supposed to be bad mons, because they're getting their attack stat doubled up to like 120 and 100 and stuff like that. That's still like not all that bad considered. Or like Light Ball Pikachu, for instance, as well, is still getting his attack and special attack doubled. So yeah, I mean, and then Ditto is Ditto. So once again, two of the lowest base stat mons in the entire game, and we're playing with them in Master Ball tier. Now, as for Morpeko, just to give you guys a little bit more intel once again on this is going to be his full belly mode, and this is his hangry mode. Now, this does not change his defensive typing at all. All that his mode change is going to do is make it so his signature move, Aura Wheel, switches its type between electric to dark. Now, this is why Choice Scarf Morpeko is so unique, and there's not a single Pokemon in the game like him. So not only are there only 3 Pokemon in the game that get Parting Shot currently in Champions, it's Incineroar, who is considerably slow, Pangoro, who is extremely slow and also just not very bulky at all anyway. He just isn't a good fit for the game. And then there's Morpeko, who has 97 base speed while also having a fast Parting Shot. And then also, because Scarf, you know, Parting Shot is kind of the way that I feel like is necessary to run him, I was trying Focus Sash. It just wasn't the type of bag that I wanted out of him. He's not fast enough on his own to get the job done the way I want him to be able to Parting Shot out of anything. So essentially, I was just like, let's just Scarf him. Why not, right? What makes him with a Scarf so interesting is the fact that when you normally have a Choice Scarf, right, you're stuck hitting that one exact move that you clicked. However, in the form of Aura Wheel, that happens to be switching back and forth between an electric and a dark move as you're scarfed on it. So not only that, it's a 110 power electric move that is changing its type every turn, and you get a speed boost off it for hitting it as well. Real quick, if you want to just like fast deep dive on this, like I said, we got a lot of gameplay to get to, so I'm gonna get into that pretty quickly. But anyway, we have him fully maxed out on Adamant Nature. I've calced this out to make sure he's gonna be faster than Basculegion, and actually, for that matter, he's faster than every Pokemon in the game. Like with the Scarf, he can outspeed even Mega Aerodactyl with this speed right here. So yes, as long as the opposing mon is not scarfed and also faster than him, then we're good. And once again, even with Basculegion's speed tier, the point is that we will outspeed him every time, as long as he's not Swift Swim. Most are running adaptability though, to be fair, and if they are running it, and if they are running Swift Swim, they're not running a Choice Scarf. But the Swift Swim ones will still be faster. Whatever, bro. I'm willing to deal with that, to be real with you. It is what it is. Anyway, as far as the moves, if you weren't running Fake Out, I did show you guys Knockoff originally. If you wanted to run this instead of fake Out, I think this could be very valid, because Knockoff will give you the first turn ability to hit a dark move. So against things like Farigiraf, for instance, as well, this could be pretty solid, because you can knock off the Citrus Berry that they very typically run, and then get the second hit KO on them. Even though it's only going to be a 65 power knockoff the next turn, you will still be able to get the KOs on Farigiraf in 2 turns very consistently when that is the case. And it can be a decent use case as far as matching up into something like that. You can see we have 133 HP exactly. Instead of going with those 2 extra points into the HP, I went into defense instead, because when he has 133 HP, it's 1 above 132, and 132 is divisible by 4, so that means that we can hit 4 substitutes on him if we ever need to. Now, what that allows for us to do is, let's say we hit first turn Parting Shot with Morpeko. He never comes back into the fight until we have a Paris Trap set up on the final 2 mons left in the match, and we need Morpeko to hit Protects and stuff like that, right? We need to stall out our Paris turns. Well, because he's Scarfed, I don't like the idea of running Protect. However, Scarf with Substitute is kind of valid, because then we can just spam this 4 turns in a row, and as long as they don't double into him, that means we're chilling, and if they did double into him, that means that the other slot didn't get hit for the turn, and we're probably okay, all things considered. Unless it's like Floette, Dazzling Gleam, or something like that, you know what I mean? Some spread move that like is going to do massive amounts of damage. That's where we'd be a little bit concerned, especially with the sub. But it's the best use case we can make on a Paris Trap team while having a Scarf Mon. So I think this moveset could be pretty good. If you want to join me in running the fake out, technically all it's good for is just to hit fake out, set up Paris Song, and then you're going to manually switch him out into someone that's maybe going to run something like, switch out to Incin, parting shot out while you switch Gengar out, do the old like pivot tech that I've been showing you guys in the video, so definitely consider that. The other moves he could run, I don't know, he has like Outrage. I wouldn't run any non-stab moves, to be honest with you guys. I feel like a lot of this stuff would be a little too troll to end up running. Super Fang could be very interesting as well, being able to cut their HP down in half at the very least. So to maybe allow someone like Gengar or even Kamao to set up for like easier KOs because you were able to whittle them down to 50% HP and then like, easily snag the KOs into something that you're not typically going to be able to. This could be very good value as well. I might even consider this, like, at least trying it myself and running something like this, for instance. The priority list would absolutely go in this order, though. Like, we look to Aura Wheel first. If it's not something we are comfortable with getting the KO on, we end up going for just the parting shot. And then, if it happens to be, let's say, a Sneasler lead and they threaten fake out, then or close combat, we probably ideally just switch. But that's where it can be a little tough, though, because you have to have good switch synergy for him. And in that case, it is absolutely Sableye, but it's very hard to go into every single game thinking I'm leading Gengar and Morpeko, and then I have Sableye in the back. That's a lot of frail when it comes to playing on a Paris Trap team. It's not a lot of bulk and not a lot of ability to drop their stats other than the parting shots. So I just wanted to give you guys a little bit of a guide before we get into the gameplays, but now let's go ahead and get into the games. I know it was a long intro, way longer than I was hoping to, but let's just get straight into it now. All right, so a lot of his use case is going to be into these opposing rain teams. So this is my very first game without running Altaria. I was like, oh man, I wonder what happens if we play like an opposing weather team, I'm like, well, I mean, we've accounted for that a decent bit. All things considered, I've looked into it quite a bit. I'm like, okay, we can play through the rain a little bit. We can take early KOs on Pelipper or Basculegion if they lead only one of them. Like if they lead Pel, we go into him with like the Aura Wheel 100% because it's a first turn electric move. If they lead Basculegion or Chaladon, that'd be crazy. First of all, they always lead Pelipper. If they lead Pelipper and Basculegion, however, I have to make a decision in that spot because I'm very typically going to be leading Gengar plus Morpeko with this squad right here. So, not very often are you going to see me do anything else. You see Sableye being hovered right now. It's not going to stay. I'm here to tell you right now. And it's mainly just because, like, I mean, if they are threatening a rain team, like I said, Morpeko just has such good value on the lead just because it's guaranteed to be electric type. So that the electric type Aura Wheel works into Pelipper and Basculegion. When it turns into a dark type one, it's going to be very much so preferably only into Basculegion. Now, there's a world where this could go two different ways. And you can see me being intimidated by Sneasler lead because I'm like, bruh, I hate the idea of going Sneasler lead, with Morpeko. But again, that's where we could try and switch him into Sableye and encore him and then just keep whoever's the ally on the other side, like, just stuck in the void as well. Probably hit like disable encore on them. So we are going into this, as you can see, with absolute frailness everywhere. We're leading Gengar Morpeko with Sableye in the back and Blastoise in the back, and just like not even bringing Kamao into an opposing Archaladon. Like, I just don't think Kamao matches up good enough into Archaladon and also doesn't match up good enough into Dragonite. So, simply put, we're playing through these two. We're literally playing through the two lowest base stat mons in the game nearly, and then our Paris Trap Gengar, bro. And I don't know, I love this too. And to be real with you, the wins feel so rewarding when playing with a team like this because it does take skill and it does take tactician and it does take, maneuvering and stuff like that. And, I understand it's probably not the easiest playstyle to replicate Paris Trap in general, let alone playing with two super frail mons like this that are scarfed and focus sashed. But anyway, you can see we're on a 3-game win streak right here, approaching the 1950s or something like that. I've talked in previous videos that I'm on a losing streak now. Unfortunately, I've been just moving around with a lot of different moving pieces on the team, and it's not Morpeko's fault at all. You're going to see him pop off in these games and show exactly why he's good. But anyway, they lead Pelipper Basculegion. So this is exactly what I was talking about. Last Respects doesn't snag KOs on Gengar. However, with no ability to turn off the rain, Wave Crash does. So the safe play 100% is to do this exactly right here. Safe play is I go sub or protect. The reason I'll explain with the sub in a second, but I'm going into Basculegion just to make sure that Gengar is safe. I don't really want to fire off a Shadow Ball. What I could do if I wanted to play aggressive, really aggressive, is call their bluff, say that this Basculegion is adamant, and simply go Shadow Ball and Aura Wheel. And if I snag a double KO and then it's something like Archaladon and like, Dragonite in the back, I just fire off a Paris Song and we win. simply put, that is the win condition against this lead right here. If you wanted to play aggressive and turn your brain off and just say, hey, if they're adamant Basket Legion, we win the game. If they're timid, if they're jolly Basket Legion, we don't lose necessarily, but it will be hard to recover from it. I played a little passive here just to let you guys know how this is going. I obviously went Aura Wheel from Morpeko into Basket Legion. That, however, means I'm committing myself to not being able to get a Pelipper KO on the next turn, because that means the Aura Wheel is going to turn it into Dark type instead. So, why I substituted, though, instead, is just to cover for in case Pelipper hits Tailwind. I wanted to make sure that's something that we didn't have to, like, you know, because if I hit Protect first turn and then Pelipper hit Tailwind, I would be left in the void right here, because then I would not be able to hit Protect next turn, and then whoever comes in would probably be faster than me. So then we wouldn't be able to even get a sub off. So instead I'm going sub first turn, just to account for the fact that then I can protect the next turn if it's really, really necessary, and that we would have our sub intact if they ended up going Tailwind. So then if the sub was intact, we could fire off damage with Morpeko and whatever the heck we want to. You know, like if our Chowdon comes in, we could just double into Pelipper, snag the KO there. They break my, you know, sub, but at that point, who cares? Then I can just fire off Paris the next turn. They're going to be going Dragonite on this, as you can see. So, yeah, a little bit tough, I'm not gonna lie. The multi-scale is concerning into that Dragonite. You know, I could fire off some damage on him, but I am not believing that that is realistic. I think what I want to do is try and find a way to KO Pelipper, take him out the game, and then we can try and fire off the Parrish with what I assume to be our Chowdon in the back. You know, like that's very, very likely. No one brings a freaking Rain Team and doesn't bring that guy. So, since they already locked in on the fact that it's gonna be Dragonite coming, I feel very confident about that. To be real with you, I don't even know when the heck they wouldn't bring one of these rain Pokemon. They might just have Sinistcha and Sneasler there just to show that they're running like something more meta. I don't know. Realistically, I don't know what could possibly dissuade you from even wanting to bring your like starting 4 at that point. So anyway, we're debating between the Aura Wheel. I am going to commit to hitting it into Pelipper because like I said, it's going to be very unrealistic for us to take care of Dragonite by actually KOing him. So we're going into Blastoise just to sponge up some damage here, and because he's our leftovers guy and his ability Rain Dish is playing into opposing rain teams at least decently. It's not like it's game breaking, but it's very helpful. So you're going to see Aura Wheel still pops off for great damage into a very bulky Pelipper, you know, like that. Pelipper still has really good defense. So they go Hurricane from Dragonite into our former Gengar slot into our Blastoise now. Take about exactly half of our HP, and then Pelipper fires off a Weather Ball into Morpeko. Unfortunately, that is going to KO our boy, but all things considered, he was able to deal with our #1 threat, Basket Legion, an absolute cringe bot that I absolutely hate playing against, and then 2, he's able to set us up with really good damage into Pelipper that's going to guarantee us a second turn KO on him. So I can do this one of 2 ways. I could go very slow paced with Sableye. However, that would let them switch out, and it'd be kind of cringe. I don't really want Sableye on the field when Gengar isn't. So instead, Blastoise, remind you, switched in for the Gengar slot, which means because Morpeko got KO'd, we can bring Gengar in, and the Shadow Tag has not left the field now. We can simply just bring him in, and what it's going to allow us to do is Blastoise has a Fake Out being readied. So what we can do, we can Fake Out the Dragonite and Shadow Ball into the Pelipper. And it is possible that Pelipper has Protect on him, and like it would actually protect them from a turn where they're being faked out. You know, I would have to sack my my Gengar at that point, which would be very, very unfortunate. So I am lucky that it turned out this way on the turn. Obviously, we are going to commit to it though. It is my win condition at this point. So whether they have Protect or not, or if they think to click it, or some people, I'm going to be real with you, might not even acknowledge the fact that Blastoise gets Fake Out. Him being such an unpopular Mon, and just like no one ever running him the way that I do, kind of plays into my strategy a little bit in this case. Because so many people think of him, especially if you've played Rain Team, you're probably thinking, oh, there's the, you know, like there's the Water Spout Sweeper King right there. Maybe he has Shell Smash, maybe he has Water Spout, maybe he has, you know, this, that, and the other. Well, he has Fake Out. I don't know if they were accounting for that at all, to be real with you. Because as you can see, it leaves them exposed, and Shadow Ball gets the KO on Pelipper, and now it allows me the opportunity to outspeed anything else that's on their team except for maybe Sneasler, but even in most cases, yes, actually, yeah, always Sneasler. The only time I don't outspeed Sneasler is when it's the Unburden has been popped by White Herb, or if it's like, you know, the Focus Sash. But either way, it ends up being our Chowdon. So now, what can we do here? We could protect Blastoise, keep him alive, you know, just allow our Cringebot, Sableye, the ability to, you know, kind of stall quite a bit whenever he does come in. So now I'm just going to fire off the Perish Song and allow Sableye to do his thing, simply put. I'm going to allow Sableye to stall, hit things like Fake Out, hit things like Encore, hit things like Disable, allow ourselves to set up really good for this. You might even see me start hovering over the rain turns, trying to figure out how many turns of rain there are left, because that is a big use case of why our Chaladon is either useful or not. So we protect Blastoise right now just to make sure we don't get hit by Electro Shot or Draco Meteor or Hurricane or whatever the heck they're trying to ready for us with, you know, all these guys right here. So Perish is up. Now, they go Hurricane from Dragonite into Gengar. Not ideal, but still a good protect, because then that means whatever Pelipper was readying would still come into the Blastoise slot as well. Or, my bad, our Chaladon, not Pelipper. So as you can see, Electro Shot, boom. That would have zapped Blastoise off the face of the earth. It would have been really bad, obviously. So, now what can we do? Sableye is incoming. Blastoise just protected this turn. And now, low-key, we could hit a little Fake Out on the Sableye, and as you can see, Rain Dish Leftovers going crazy right there, just healing so much on Blastoise. So what's beautiful about that is that because it's healing so much, it's going to allow me on Blastoise to kind of deal with Dragonite quite well. So now it's all about just shutting down our Chaladon. What can we do to take him offline and make him just not useful to the fight right now? So we're going to hit Life Dew plus Fake Out into the Archaladon so that we can ready ourselves for a double protect on the next turn. And as long as there's two ways this could go. It's either Sableye doesn't get hit at all, and that means that his sash stays intact, so they're not gonna be able to actually get the win here at all. Or they hit like Sableye right now on the Dragonite, they break his sash, he gets confused with the Hurricane or something like that, and then I don't get to use my move of whatever I wanted to do. Now, somewhere in here I was looking at the rain turns also. I know I'm not really showing it right now to you guys, or like, you know, I didn't really pause it per se, but as you can see, Dragonite goes for the Dragon Pulse into Blastoise. I want to talk about where the rain was like kind of important. Now, you're going to see obviously the flinch from the Fake Out, Life Dew. Look at this amount of HP that we're going to get back here. So we're getting like, you know, a quarter of our HP right there. Reminds you, Leftovers is going to be working. Unfortunately, the rain ends, but I am not calling that unfortunately, because now what we can do is we can Encore our Chaladon into his last previous move before the Fake Out happened into Electro Shot, which is going to be a 2-turn charge move. So now we're in the exact same spot again as we were last turn, where our Chaladon isn't going to be able to do anything if I hit him with an Encore. He's going to ready that Electro Shot, charge up his special attack, and then not able to fire it off until the Perish count hits 1, and we can just double protect. So essentially, it would have been like this. Encore, charge, he try and do damage into either of these two, wouldn't end up getting a KO on either of them, realistically. And then we double protect on the turn where it's 1 left on the count, and we would just win, simply put. So that is how we just secured a W with, you know, Morpeko, Sableye, and Blastoise into a freaking meta rain team. So let's keep this stuff going, man. I know it's gonna be a long video, but I'm here to rep my boy Morpeko finally. I haven't really dropped a lot of gameplay on him. I've been stashing it, and I've just been focusing on a lot of other different videos. You know, we were on that Sableye kick pretty hard, as well as I'm still gonna be posting about Sableye for the record. That dude is just a beast, but I'm trying to find the actual squad, you know what I mean? Like, this is a good team. However, I don't know how like super consistently reliable it's always going to be. I'm just trying to showcase Morpeko in action for those who are interested in adding him to their squad and like are looking for a piece like this. But yeah, it's hard to fit him and Sableye on the field together all the time, but they just synergize with each other so good, and so do they with Gengar. It's just really hard not to bring them typically. But like, the problem with that on a Perish Trap team is you have to guess the right outcome very consistently. Now, I'm not here to diss Morpeko at all. Sableye is probably the one that I like could deal without, and I'd probably go like, let me give you an instance case that if I was using Morpeko along with Altaria that you might see later in the video. Actually, come to think of it, we could hit Parting Shot. Let's say they go Pelipper, Archaladon lead, right? We could hit Parting Shot into Archaladon, send Altaria in for Morpeko, nullify the rain effects. He's readying Electro Shot or something into Gengar, and like he's hitting Weather Ball or Hurricane or something like that. We make it less accurate. We, you know, do the type of stuff that we were already doing beforehand, but instead are also getting a Parting Shot onto this Archaladon, and it covers for if they bring Basculegion in the lead. So like, if I went Altaria Gengar on the lead, it would leave me pretty exposed to opposing Basculegions typically. But with the idea of Altaria in the back and Morpeko being brought for like the lead, it allows us to just completely say, Basculegion, you're not playing the game, you know. And as long as I can protect Morpeko or take really big value with him by getting a like KO first turn on Pelipper or something like that, that's cool. You know, at that point, we're making this a 3v3. So anyway, here we are in like super high elo now, like 1950 or something like that. This is probably the pinnacle that I reached, because I have been on a bit of a losing streak since, and I'm back down to like 1800 or like 1850. And yeah, it's been rough. I'm not gonna lie to you, but I've been testing a lot of stuff and just running different lineups and probably not being optimal as far as like winning goes. So what do they got right here? As you can see, our Chaladon Pelipper. Now, because we are in a bit of a toughie right here and I don't have Altaria, I think the right play is to simply go, you know, the Aura Wheel into Pelipper and then hit sub on Gengar. I just think that's probably the right way to go about this. If they want to take a KO from our Chaladon into Morpeko, more power to them. I don't think people should be doing something like that, in my opinion. I feel like you see something like Gengar on the field, you're trying to deal with him first. But hey, again, hard reads are hard reads. Like if they made the right read on that, then more power to them. But anyway, as you're gonna see, Mega Gengar, go with the sub. We're readying that Aura Wheel into Pelipper. It's like it kills him like 4 times over, bro. You guys know how electric moves are, obviously, into a Pelipper. So yeah, that is how that's gonna go. So Aura Wheel, boom, pop off, King. Get that KO on Pelipper. One shot him. He's out the game. It's a 3v4 already at that point now, and Morpeko's speed is up. This low-key covers us, I believe. I'm not positive, but I'm pretty sure it covers us for Swift Swim Basket Legions as well, if we can get that KO first turn on that. So anyway, Gengar with the sub up. They go Electro Shot from our Chaladon, and this is going to hit into Gengar as well. So decent sub, not great. We could have hit Protect like we just did last lead as well. But all things considered, it saves our Protect for this turn. So depending on what comes in here, like a Bastion Legion for instance, that's going to outspeed me, I feel like a sub was a good play right here, especially if they decided to go damage into Morpeko instead from our Chaladon. It would leave us in a spot where we have a sub up now, and it covers us for Bastion Legion, because if they did send him out and Morpeko got KO'd by our Chaladon, that would be really bad ball. Now, these guys are doing a smart play right here. Keep Bastion Legion the heck away from Morpeko, right? I mean, like, you know, just absolutely want to do that. Or maybe they didn't bring him. you gotta consider that as well. So we could go Protect right here. We could go into Sableye. We could also just send our boy off Morpeko, give him a salute, you know, say thanks for taking out Pelipper. Now do some chip on Dragonite or something like that and call it a day, and just let our boy go down. Or if he doesn't get KO'd, maybe he can just keep on doing big damage. I don't feel like this is a Pokemon you can really ignore. You know what I mean? You can't just see Morpeko on the squad and be like, meh, let him be. He is gonna fire off big damage and fast into people. So we're once again considering, do we go sub, do we go Protect? What's the move here? We end up going sub, as you can see, last second, just trying to make a decent play, trying to cover for if they do double into Morpeko, or if, you know, we just like catch them hitting Tailwind or something like that. Just once again, feel very uncomfortable with the idea of going with Protect right here. So I will say they could have caught us right here, but the thing is, if they wanted to get the KO on Gengar, I think that low-key Morpeko is just as valuable, and if they get a KO on Gengar, that means they doubled into him and left Morpeko untouched. So they go Hurricane into Morpeko. Low-key, not a good play. We actually lived that because of Hurricane. Maybe they're trying to cover it with something else. As you can see, they go Electro Shot right here into the Gengar. So Protect would have been, technically speaking, the optimal play looking back at it in retrospect, but you have to consider, like, you know, essentially what I was trying to get at here is that they're either going to double into Gengar, double into Morpeko, or split the attacks between the two of them. Or, as a third option, like I said, potentially Tailwind from Dragonite. So I wanted to cover for all three of those things. I felt like Substitute did that pretty well, and we could be a little bit more malleable off of whatever happened if someone did get KO'd. We got, you know, Sableye in the back to be able to do something like Encore, Fake Out, Disable, allow Morpeko to just keep firing off crazy damage if they would have KO'd him. Now, however, we're a little bit exposed on Gengar. We could do one of two things. We could ready this for in case it's an Electro Shot, and then we bring Kamo in for something like this, or we just fire off double damage into something like Dragonite, try and snag the KO, or we could just, you know, try and once again get Gengar out, protect him for whatever's in the back. Because at this point, if I'm sending Morpeko off and sacking him, I really have to just like play this careful. Now, we could hit Perish, we could Protect. You can see there's a lot of thoughts going through my mind right now. Instead, we're going to keep Gengar safe, fire off damage into Dragonite, see if we can put this into KO range for Gengar later, potentially. Boom. Aura Wheel's going to hit, electric type move right here, neutral damage, same with obviously the, you know, dark type is as well. Good damage. Really, really good damage, all things considered. That's going to put us into, like, you know, one more KO range for Gengar right there into the Dragonite. They go Dragon Pulse from our Chaladon into Morpeko. Good play by them, to be fair. You know, I mean, like, if they would have doubled into Gengar, they would have got cooked right there, because Morpeko would have snagged a KO on Dragonite for sure on the next one, and then we would have just pretty much had a 2v2. I'd be able to hit Perish Song. It'd be over, you know, simple. But anyway, we go into Sableye. So, Dragon Pulse, Hurricane are the two moves that just popped off. What we could do is, once again, we go for another sub, or we go with the Shadow Ball, snag the Dragonite KO, and then fake out the Archaladon, as you can see. This is by far the optimal play, if you ask me. It's going to be able to solidify a KO, unless they go Protect on one of them, or something like that. Well, actually, it's only Protect on Dragonite, all things considered, because if they protected Archaladon, that's the same thing as getting faked out in this case. If anything, it's actually better for them, because their defense is getting raised, but that's not the way we're trying to get a KO on that boy. We are trying to do this through the Perish. So, as you can see, what that also left us able to do is double protect the next turn. So, the beauty of this duo right here, Gengar and Sableye, is, let's see what comes out in the back. Would you believe it? It's Basculegion. What do you think he's gonna do? Probably hit a nice little, you know, last respects into Gengar. So, check this out. This is where Sableye comes in. And this is where, like, this team can actually counter into these meta weather teams pretty decently, even with the garbage mons that we have on the squad. Double Protect allows us to just wait out these moves, see what they're going to do for the turn, right? So, what we could do, because I know, obviously, our Chaladon's going to be fast, or we're going to be faster on Gengar than our Chaladon can handle. So, we got a couple of different ways we can go about this. We're going to double protect, just, you know, weigh out our options right here. If it's last respects from Basculegion, we are very much so thinking about disabling that. And ironically, they actually went for it into Sableye, bro. They went for it into Sableye. Oh, that would have been such a crazy turn to just pop off on them. But fortunately for us, we can still play around this a little bit. We go protect. Once again, our Chaladon is boosted the heck up right now. However, there is a little bit of a thing going on right now. Our Chaladon just hit Electro Shot, and now the rain is done. We could encore him instead of disabling the last respects. Now, this is a little bit tough. This is going to be a gamble either way, you know? It's like, if we disable the Basculegion, it's possible that he was scarfed, which means, like, let me really break this down, right? So, if we disable Basculegion, and he ends up being scarfed, that means he's going to struggle instead. He has no other move he can click. If he's not scarfed, that means he's not fast enough, and that would mean we would be able to get the KO with Gengar into him. However, can the rest of our team even deal with our Chaladon? I don't really know. So, in a little bit of an awkward way, I gotta decide between one of the two. Do I encore the Electro Shot and force him into a move that we can just protect on? Or do I go for the disable into Basculegion? Or do I just drop my nuts, hope we're faster, and then also encore the Archaladon? I think that's what we're going to do, if I'm being completely honest. So, yeah, as you can see, clock winding down, just got to make a decision. Again, I tell you guys, it is likely, more often than not, my Gengar is faster than their Basculegion. It's about like a 60-40 thing, to be honest with you. We're just risking it for the biscuit right here, and there we go. We're able to get the KO. It's a little ugly. We don't like doing it, but sometimes you got to. Oh well, it is what it is. Because now that we've done this, our Chaladon is stuck using Electro Shot. We can literally just protect on turns where he actually fires off the damage, and then we can just hit Perish on him. He's cooked. We can just encore him over and over again. This is our easy win condition as long as I was able to outspeed and KO Basculegion, so I figured why not do it, you know? I mean, we still have Kamo O in the back as well. Granted, he walls Basculegion decent, but like not to the point where we would have guaranteed one. But that would also mean that we still have, you know, an encoring our Chaladon that like we could still deal with pretty decent, and then, you know, be able to have Kamo O maybe just like still be able to snag a KO pretty easily. Oh, and also what I do need to say about that, the same way I was just talking about how the only way that Basculegion outspeeds and KOs, you could still apply that to doing the encore in our Chaladon. Like, if Basculegion does outspeed, that means I can just disable him, because that means he was guaranteed to have a sash, or a scarf, I should say. So if Basculegion had a scarf, that means I can disable that, and now he's just going to struggle for the whole rest of the game. So now we just, with our Chaladon encored, have him stuck in the Electro Ball spam, and at that point Basculegion's hitting, obviously, struggle, and then our Chaladon's hitting the Electro Shot spam that we can just protect on the turns where it actually does damage. So Kamo O can easily, you know, shred both of those two with all that considered. So even though I call it a risk, that was low-key the calculated best play for sure, 100%. So this is by far the highest I've made it ELO wise, almost to the 2000 range. I am assuming is almost into the top like 500, I would assume, something like that. Unfortunately, I've been on a bit of a losing streak, so I am no longer up here anymore. But yeah, at least seeing this though gives me the vision. And by the way, I've been playing really late at night. I'm telling you guys what, those Japanese players are insanely good. Like, I mean, I was playing a bunch of them right here in the videos, obviously, as well. But yeah, my sleep schedule is crazy. You guys see me upload in like normal time, so that's because I schedule the videos. I'd be recording and like playing the game at like 7 or 8 a.m. and I still haven't gone to bed yet. So yeah, that's why we be catching a lot of the overseas Asian players like all the time. All right, so for the final gameplay, we have another weather team. However, it's a sun team. Now, I tell you guys what, the moment I drop Altaria, guess what we play every single game now? It's friggin' sun or rain team. Like, I was playing quite a few that were just running, you know, Steezler, King Gambit, Garchomp. Oh, guess what? We're playing them again, you know? But instead, it's, you know, with Charizard on the squad too for some sun boosted stuff. And just to be able to play their own weather, I assume. They probably don't want rain up when they're like just trying to, I don't know. It's probably just a way to counter rain teams if we're being completely honest. But yeah, and those Mons are ones that still match up decent into rain teams, like Sneasler into our Chowdon, for instance, and Garchomp still also decent into our Chowdon, so on and so forth. You get what I'm saying, right? Like, Basket Legion probably gets countered by King Gambit pretty well with the Sucker Punch, all things considered. So yeah, like, they probably just have Charizard there to just counter opposing rain teams that they like don't want to deal with as much, and just to nullify the damage of their water type moves and stuff like that. I don't know if that's so effective, though, to be fair. But anyway, as you can see, the leads that we decide on, let's go back to that real quick. As you can see, we go with Gengar in the back, Incin and Morpeko on the leads. Now, we don't have Sableye for this game. I was testing out Floette, non-Mega, and was running this multiple different ways, whether it was like a Fairy Feather as its item, Choice Scarf we've been doing a little bit more recently. Floette actually has Pollen Puff as a move, so it can play healer role while also still threatening like massive damage, you know, with like Light of Ruin and stuff like that. And ironically, it actually matches up into other teams' Floettes pretty well, all things considered. It's kind of funny, right? Because what it allows you to do, Fairy Aura boosts the move, like the power of Fairy moves on the entire floor. So you kind of, in a way, steal the ability of their Mega Floette, and you have Fairy Aura plus Fairy Feather as an item too. So we're in a bit of an awkward spot here, all right? We already led Incin into a King Gambit, and we just Defiant boosted him up. So that's already bad. Like, that's not what we wanted to see at all. However, I do like the idea of potentially, let's say, going, you know, like Fake Out Parting Shot right here or something like that. As you can see, boom, there we go. And ironically, when I say Fake Out Parting Shot, I mean it could be either of the two because we already led the Intimidate. So Garchomp is lowered on his attack. Now, if this is Scarf Garchomp, he outspeeds and it's bad. I'm not going to lie to you guys. That is one issue that Morpeko has run into. Scarf Garchomp with max speed is a bit of a problem that I don't like dealing with very much. But when paired with Sableye, it actually works. Unfortunately, we didn't have Sableye here though. But when paired with Sableye, if you were to go for that parting shot and Garchomp outsped you, that means you know that he's scarfed, and that means that you could disable his you know, Earthquake or whatever he decided, like Stomping Tantrum right there. As you can see, they did go for the KO into Morpeko. But yeah, essentially with Sableye's use case, if that means Morpeko went down, if you pair that with Gengar somewhere on the field, which would be convenient, but in this case, they absolutely led the Gengar counters of all time. So I'm glad I did lead Morpeko into this because Gengar would have had a really hard time, all things considered. But point is, if Garchomp outsped you on Morpeko, that means he has Scarf. You can just simply hit Disable onto his Earthquake or Stomping Tantrum or whatever it was, and as long as Gengar is there to trap him, he will just struggle. He can't do anything else because he was Scarfed. And you know that because that's the only way you can outspeed Morpeko. So at least there's some revenge sense to that as well. Now, I'm glad that I was able to get that off because now we have Garchomp -2, and then we also have King Gambit +1. However, Kamo-O threatens first turn KOs into King Gambit easy. Now I want to run this back because I actually want to kind of break down a multi-layered idea that I have right here. So let's say, picture this, Kamo-O's faster than Incineroar, right? And Kamo-O's also faster than King Gambit. Kamo-O is going to get the KO one hit if like it connects with the body press on King Gambit. It will, you know, obviously. So what we could do here instead is to go double into him. Go body press plus parting shot. If they had something like Whimsicott or Charizard in the back, we'd at least get some value out of it. Garchomp is -2. We do not care about this guy right now. I'm being real with you. We do not care. So because Kamo-O is going to go first, I'm okay with hitting parting shot into King Gambit because if he doesn't switch, that means I already got the KO, and then that means the parting shot then hits into the right slot. And if they didn't switch, I get the body press KO anyway, and it'll still hit into the right slot. So basically what I was playing for was if they switch Charizard into that role, and I want him to have his damage, like, you know, nerfed essentially, because we don't have him trapped. However, with that type of a tactical play, it did sort of trap them in a way, and it's all thanks to Morpeko plus Incineroar getting constant Intimidate, doubling up and stuff like that. Like, mind you, we just took a King Gambit out after giving him a Defiant boost off first turn, just because we simply had fake out pressure. We had, you know, Kamo-O to deal with both of those two at the same time with the well, actually we didn't have the Haban Berry on him in this moment, but he will still tank Garchomp pretty decent with like the Dragon Claw being his physical way of attacking. When they add that Mega Garchomp Z or whatever, that's going to be a different ball game for Kamo-O. Kamo-O is definitely a merchant off Garchomp only having his physical attack right now and not really threatening things like Draco Meteor. But we're definitely trying to think what is a decent play into their potential other lead here, or like switch in, if you will. Morpeko is safe, all things considered. If they go Garchomp again, we already outsped him, which means he is not Scarfed. So we know that we can probably play around that a little bit. As you can see, Kamo-O with some leftovers HP as well. What I don't like, however, is the idea of Whimsicott being on the field right now next to Kamo-O. That is not what we want to see, being completely honest with you guys. So this little gremlin over here on the right, we got to kind of find a way to deal with it too, because we can really bring Kamo-O online and absolutely let him just let off on Garchomp if we can get Whimsicott off the field. Because, again, we've invested really heavily into Garchomp's, or not Garchomp, but Kamo-O's defense, and then also have his special attack scaled to the exact spot where a Draco Meteor one-hit KOs every Garchomp that doesn't have any bulk on them, so like, you know, HP or special defense or anything like that. So that is definitely the play right now. But like I said, we got to find a way to get Whimsicott at least like nullified or out of here. So guess who's popping off again? Mr. Morpeko. So we're going Parting Shot once again. You know, Gengar hasn't even seen the field yet. It's been like probably 4 or 5 turns of this stuff, and all we've been doing is hitting Fake Outs, Parting Shots, and Body Presses, you know, and then Protect. So yes, protecting into the very likely Fairy move coming from Whimsicott right here. If it hit, you know, some prankster move like Tailwind, that maybe could have cooked us, to be real with you. It maybe could have cooked us if they went Tailwind plus Stomping Tantrum into Morpeko. Fortunately, though, they didn't. They were really like trying to be, you know, hungry for that damage with the Moonblast into Kamo-O, obviously, or even Morpeko is, you know, super affected by that too. So in a rare use case, Whimsicott was very useful for damage. And then as you can see, not only did we get the Intimidate off, but also now we have Whimsicott kind of pinned in a good spot that we like it. So not only do we have full HP off the leftovers, but we have Fake Out pressure from Incineroar as well. So I'm not really threatened by Garchomp a whole lot, you know, offensively, but we can't really get rid of Whimsicott very well with the offense that we have on the field. So we're going Fake Out into the Whimsicott plus Draco into Garchomp, and all things considered, this should get the KO easy. There's no world where Garchomp one-shots Kamo-O, but there is a world where Kamo-O one-shots Garchomp. And then also, like, Stomping Tantrum, Earthquake, that's not KOing either of these guys. Look at the bulk. Look at the bulk monster. Freaking full defense Incineroar with the Intimidate. It's probably how I should have been running him the whole time. And then Citrus Berry, it's like it never even happened, bro. And then Draco Meteor, gonna pop off and kill this guy every single time as long as they didn't invest. And as you can see, gets the KO. So we have them down to 2 people now. It's going to be Whimsicott and whatever's in the back, and they haven't gone Mega yet. And I did get a crit right there, but I'm here to tell you it probably didn't matter, all things considered. That's the only time I swear I get crits, bro, is when it's something that I literally count and was like, yeah, I get KO every time here. And then when it pops off in the video, I'm like, yeah, I get KO every time here. And then it's like, oh, well, it was a crit, so you guys just kind of have to take my word for it. But anyway, so now we have to kind of figure out what do we want to do with our bodies on the team left. So we have 4 people, however, they have big damage being threatened into Kamo-O right now. I think I just let my boy go, to be real with you. It's going to be very hard to protect him, and then if I switch one of those guys in the back, it might get kind of ugly, but like Incin's kind of for the taking too, but I feel like maybe a Parting Shot could be decent into something like Charizard, nullify the damage that he's going to do, make it so maybe something like, let's say for instance, Gengar can get a Parasong off without getting KO'd or something like that, you know, whether it's Fire Blast, Weather Ball, Heat Wave, stuff like that. I don't know about Overheat, to be real with you. Sun Boosted Overheat, even if he's -1, I don't know how well that would even do. They go for a Tailwind, actually, and now I feel kind of bad about the whole Kamo-O, like, you know, not getting out of here situation, but it would have been tough to switch something into a Sun Boosted Heat Wave, like I said. So I think to do it through the slow Parting Shot was the right way to go about it. We get a little bit of damage off on Whimsicott, but it's definitely not great, all things considered. I can't, however, hit a Draco or anything like that into Whimsicott, and even if I did hit Draco into Charizard, it's still not going to do great damage. So, I don't know. Unfortunately, Combo O is kind of useless. Now, the thing with Morpeko is he could get in here, however, he's not going to be able to outspeed now because they have the Tailwind up. They kind of cooked me with Morpeko on that by doing the Tailwind. I do have Fake Out, however. It's just that faking one of these guys out doesn't really work well with Combo O because they can both do huge damage to him too. And it's like Air Slash, flinches and stuff too. It's not what we're trying to do. So, unfortunately, as much as if they didn't Tailwind, I would love to have sent Morpeko out here and hit another parting shot into something like Charizard or something like that, or Aura Wheel for that matter even too, you know, if it was electric type. I think, however, it will be a dark type when you switch him in even off like a sack like that. So, anyway, we kind of have no choice but to go Gengar Perish Song here, to be real with you, and then hope that like stuff can work out good on the backside of this. So, that's what we're going to be doing. You know, if they go Whimsicott, Moonblast into Combo O, we just kind of have to deal with it. We could, however, protect right here. I think it's what we're going to do, just to keep a body alive on the floor while we have the Perish going off. So, I mean, you can see me mull it over a little bit. I'm like, oh, what's the situation going on right now? I mean, most everybody's like dropped on their attacks and stuff like that. So, we should be able to live this, if you ask me. But, anyway, Perish Song, as you can see, coming out right here. Still trying to think this over. I mean, there's a timer for a reason. We're definitely just giving this a lot of thought, trying to really weigh this all out and think how likely is this to get the KOs and stuff. I also don't know what moves they have on Charizard, so it leaves me a little bit in the dark in that regard. But anyway, we're going to have to make something happen right here. I got to just send it on the Perish Song. What more can we even do at this point? So, anyway, we're doing it. We could have maybe tried to get a KO on Whimsicott, but our back is absolutely not dealing with Charizard that well. We'd have to stall out the Tailwind, which is ironically just as long as a Perish Song would take anyway, so I don't know. At this point, just gotta send it. And as you can see, they actually go Moonblast into Combo O. Fortunately, they didn't double into my Gengar. And as you can see, Weather Ball, I didn't like to see that. I was hoping it'd be Heat Wave. As you can see, we actually lived that thanks to the parting shot, once again. So, we're able to get the Perish off. Soundproof kind of works out in our favor here, just considering I don't think Combo O would have been this. He probably would have been the slowest Mon in the field, all things considered, but it doesn't even matter. Soundproof, obviously, like I said, going to help him out in that regard. And now, low-key, what I also want to say is that with Whimsicott being parting shotted, I low-key do feel like that Combo O is going to live, but we could consider the way of doing this the right way. Combo O maybe could be preserved. However, the Incineroar and Morpeko fake outs can be kind of valuable as well. So there's multiple different ways we could go about this, but the long story short is we just got to simply make it to where we make this take 3 turns. It doesn't matter who's doing it. So Gengar just used the Perish, obviously. So Gengar protecting is an absolute like easy thing to do right here for sure. Combo O, however, just protected. So if we want to go for the double with him, it's worth at least trying, I suppose. And as you can see, we actually do get the double to pull off right there. So, yeah, definitely not cool for them for sure. However, I don't think it would have mattered. I'm not positive on that. We could probably decipher that as the gameplay continues here. But yeah, I mean, count's going to hit 2 right here, all things considered. Combo O, now you can actually see it on this turn. We'll fast forward to this. Obviously, now we're going for a triple protect and a double protect on Gengar, but it's okay. The reason I'm okay with this is because I actually do want to explain this because you guys might think I'm living on a prayer with this, and low-key, as you can see, I actually do get the double protect off, but I want to explain why it didn't need to happen for me to win right here. The Perish count hit 2. If they get the KOs here on this turn, that means the next turn is going to hit 1, which then also means that I have 2 people in the back that can both just hit protect, and then they lose, you know. So, long story short, when you hit that Perish count 2 and you still have 1 person in the back, you win. It's as simple as that, because that means the person in the back will have a fresh protect to hit no matter what. And as you can see, the quad super effective Moonblast, not even KOing Combo O right there. And then Heat Wave too ends up, obviously we protected it with Gengar, and then Heat Wave into Combo O, once again also resisted, and then he's also been parting shot dropped as well, so Sun Boosted Heat Wave still doesn't kill Combo O through all this adversity that my boy has gone through. And again, shout out Morpeko, shout out Incineroar in this game. Like, the parting shot truly did help us stall the game. And now the Tailwind is out too. Long story short, they lose. You know, even if they get the KOs right here into both of us, we got 2 in the back. Game over. We end up winning with 4 Mons alive against the Sun team. And then we also showed you guys beating those Rain teams too. I will say though, however, like I said, it hasn't been easy. not only is this playstyle extremely complex, but also like it's not like I've been winning at a ridiculous rate. Like I said, I've been on quite a losing streak. Our elo is down to about like 1790 or something like that. Like let me go over to it. Like I said, bro, it's been tough games for sure. So yeah, 1770. Again, we've been on the fall, unfortunately. And I will say, between not only that the opponents are getting extremely hard at this elo, but also like we've been playing around with a ton of different mons, bro. I've been trying a bunch of stupid stuff, to be real with you. I was trying to see if Aerodactyl could fit on a Paris Trap team with the Rock Slide flinches. We were running Floette once again with like, you know, whether it was Scarf on this set right here or a bulky one, especially defensive. I don't really want to make excuses, so I probably won't continue to like list off the plethora of things we've been trying. But also like, I mean, as you guys saw in my Paris Trap mirror match, I was even doing stuff as stupid as running no damaging moves on Gengar. I was running him bulky and running things like, you know, sub, reflect type, disable in Parasong or something like that. It was the dumbest thing you've ever seen. So I don't know. As much as I can keep making excuses like that, at the end of the day, obviously I do want to still win, and I kind of hate when I'm losing, especially when it's to these super meta teams that just are the most annoying thing to play. They just play every single game. So I want to keep labbing. I want to keep getting better. I want to keep learning how to counter these meta teams. And I think Morpeko, as much as like I want him to be the piece to this. And I feel like he is. He's such an easy answer to Basket Legion that I need him to be the answer into a lot of other things too. Because it's hard to make a lot of stuff work, to be real with you, into Basket Legion. I mean, maybe we could consider Scarf Raichu as well, but like then he doesn't really provide parting shot value. He does have Lightning Rod, which could nullify the effects of Archaludon a little bit better, but I feel like his use case isn't quite as widespread as something like Morpeko, where like you just saw him pop off in that game against like, you know, Garchomp and hitting parting shots into him, and like, you know, just seeing that kind of value, as well as the fact that Morpeko in the back could have still dealt with Charizard pretty decent too, you know, like if he can still be an electric type. Now I gotta figure that out personally. I do have to figure out if he gets like to be a dark type or an electric type when you send him in off of someone's death. But anyway, yeah, I don't know, like, as far as everybody else goes, like, I feel like the one person that, like, absolutely needs to stay no matter what is Kamo-O, because he covers the absolute weaknesses that Gengar has. Incineroar and Blastoise are very easy picks to be, like, played on this team still. And then these two are, like I said, very niche, like, they're really good when they're really good, and they're, like, pretty bad when they're, like, bad, but it's not often that they're bad. It's just that, like, you know, you can struggle against opposing dark types even more with Sableye, so the fact that Gengar already struggles with them is kind of tough when you double down on that. So like a surplus of dark types can really give us problems when paired with Sableye. That's why I was trying to match it with Floette as well, because Floette can really just play into dark types as well. But then it's like, then you don't have Morpeko, and then you don't have a Basket Legion answer. So then you have to have a Basket Legion answer somewhere. So do you take Blastoise off the squad? Do you take Incineroar off the squad? Do one of these guys lose their spot? It's just, I'm trying to make everything come together, and in the process of that is me struggling, if you get what I'm saying. So like, I could be trying to put my best foot forward of like the best team that I feel comfortable playing with and trying to win as hard as I can, but I'm trying to learn more, and also I think it's good for content's sake for me to keep on trying new things for videos like this as well. So let me know what you guys think. But I don't think I'm in any rush to try and like be the best, you know what I mean? I think I want to keep learning, keep getting better, and unfortunately for me, there are no YouTube videos trying to detail how to run Parasong until Wolfie drops like some, you know, his strategy on stuff like this. But at this point, I've spent immense hours into labbing this Paris Trap stuff, trying to figure out the right use case for Mons and stuff like that as well. So I don't know. I don't even really have a full answer for you guys just yet, because I'm still trying to put the pieces together. I've been away from home a little bit the last 2 days as well, so I haven't really been able to get a lot of new gameplay. But yeah, we're back here. We're locked in. We're ready to roll, and I'm gonna be really hammering some stuff out. Let me know if you guys ever want me to go live on YouTube as well, and I could maybe like while I'm team labbing, show you guys, you know, and interact with anybody that ever comes through. I know it would be probably not a lot of people tuning in. But for those who do, I could at least maybe discuss what we're doing. To be fair, me recording triple uploads, though, it really does do a lot to my voice. So I am losing my voice quite a bit because we just recorded 3 videos in a row, trying to catch up from me being gone all day and having videos ready for tomorrow. But yeah, hey, what can I say, man? We're on the grind, and you know, I've lived this before. Doing my 2K channel, I have done this exact same thing before, and it's just what I love doing. I love being like an absolute just maniac for doing one thing at a time and hyper focusing on it, and that's what we're doing right now with the Pokemon. So anyway, I'm going to keep labbing. I'm going to keep trying to get better. If you guys have any other ideas that you want to suggest to me, feel free to. If you made it to the very end of this super long video, drop a like. If you want to show support, you made it all the way through to the end. Put Pico or put more Pico in the comments. Show support for my boy. I love this guy. He's so cool. I just feel like this. I want this to be my kind of guy. And just like, you know, when people think of me, they think of Morpeko and Gengar, you know. But anyway, yeah, we'll see. Hopefully we can keep developing him and like figuring out the right use cases for him, what to avoid him from, and where to send him into. So I want to keep doing what I can to make these guys successful as much as they can be, because at the end of the day, some of this can be on me. Some of it could be I'm putting people into the wrong leads, stuff like that as well. So, or into the wrong team comps or the wrong people around them. So I just want to keep getting better, keep learning. And if it means that I'm losing some elo, I hope you guys can understand that it means, like, you know, I'm doing it in the name of labbing a little bit more, but also that I am still struggling as a player a little bit here. So anyway, that's all. I hope you guys enjoyed. And if you did, like I said, feel free to drop a like, sub if you're new, turn on notice, all that good stuff. Other than that, take these, man. Peace.